Hello, this is Joe Polish. I want to welcome you to a Genius Network interview that I assure you is going to be pretty awesome. I am here in L.A. With my good friend, Jeff Walker, the amazing, the powerful, the very bright Jeff Walker, who is the creator of the product launch formula. And many of the top internet marketers have credited Jeff with not only helping them make millions of dollars, but basically being the innovator, the creator, the inventor of this product launch formula. So Jeff knows a lot about marketing, but he really knows a lot about how to do launches. And so, Jeff, who the heck are you? What's your background? What's your bio? If you could just kind of say a few things about what makes you so great.
Yeah, thanks. First of all, glad to be here. I'm looking forward to this already. I've been selling information online since '96. Makes me a real graybeard of the industry. I think I spent about 8 years selling information about the stock market.
Gotcha.
And then in the last couple of years, in 2005, I started training people. I developed this product launch stuff to sell my stuff in that market. Telling people the stock market's going up or down. And then around 2005, it was actually John Reese and Yannick Silver that convinced me to. They had done a couple launches because they'd become friends. I told them what I was doing, how to do it. They went out, hit home runs, and said, "You got to start teaching this stuff." So I started teaching it, and since then I rolled out my first version of Product Launch Formula in 2005, and there's been well over $100 million in sales by my clients and students. So it's
good. I like hearing that because everyone always like, all right, well, this is another cool marketing idea, but how much money has it made? It's over $100 million.
Well over $100 million. Yeah,
awesome.
It's crazy.
Awesome. And it's not stopping at all.
No, it's accelerating, actually. The launches are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Both, a lot of people have seen them in this make money niche because they're on, they might be on your list or on my list and so they've seen these launches and they may have an idea of what they've done. But they're, back in 2005, John Reese did one of the first high-profile launches and did $1 million in 24 hours. And that was, people couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I mean, it was shocking because that was way bigger than the numbers I was doing in my stock market niche. But we've now gone, this year there's been multiple launches, including one I've done that did $1 million in an hour.
In an hour.
Yeah.
Well, here, let me back up then, okay, because that for people that are in the internet marketing world and in the direct response world, most people know who you are, know what you've done, really look up to you. And there's a lot of people that listen to my interviews that, for one, not only don't know who you are, but they don't even know what a product launch is. So what I'd like to do is let's just break it down. And for people that are listening that know you, they're probably going to pick up some new things they've not heard before, get some reassurance that the launch formula not only still works, but there's all kinds of applications it hasn't even been leveraged in. And for people that don't know who you are, don't know what a launch is, I'd like to actually pull out some wisdom out of your head about just marketing and selling in general, because I mean, what you're really an expert in, from my perception of what you do, is just simply positioning and selling. I mean, you made a comment to me yesterday that you created this because you were afraid of selling.
Right.
And so anyway, we'll come to that. So what is this? What is a product launch?
Well, I think one way I like to define it is like looking at contrasting to like if you don't do a product launch. And a lot of times people, what I do applies to just all kinds of different stuff, selling hard goods and selling services and online services and information products and online, all kinds of stuff. But it's been used mostly with information stuff, information products, information marketing.
Books, courses, seminars, DVD training, online training.
Exactly. So sticking with that, a lot of times someone will create an information product. They'll come right, they'll put their heart and soul into it. And I've seen this over and over. And I know you've done it. I've done it. You pour your heart and soul into a product. And you're gasping to get to the finish line, and then you get that product done, and maybe you put up a website or you send out a mailing to a list, but it's what I call hope marketing. You put it out there and you hope someone buys it from you.
Right.
Hope marketing is bad news.
I like that term too, because I think that's how a lot of the world operates. You run an ad, you cross your fingers, and you just hope you're not going to go broke.
Yeah, and generally you do.
Right.
The world doesn't know. The world doesn't care. And so what I've developed is sort of the antithesis to Hope Marketing, where basically you create a sequence, you create and turn your launch, your marketing into an event, so that it's generally, it can be a week long, it can be 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but basically you're identifying objections in the pre-launch. The pre-launch is basically this time period before the launch where you might be sharing content, you're creating a conversation with your market. The whole idea is to make it into a big event, and then by the time you get to launch day, you have people just literally foaming at the mouth, and they can't wait to give you their money.
Okay, so like when you say launch date, so I guess an analogy would be like, you're planning a wedding. You're going to actually go ahead and have a drink, and then we'll pause there and we'll edit that. No big deal. So I guess an analogy would be someone's having a wedding and they're planning, the wedding. And so there's this build-up a period of time. Invitations need to be sent out, but it's that one day when it's all going to take place. Well, you've designed selling whatever it is you're selling to have one big giant payday, one big giant Tupperware party to take place all in one fell swoop. And it's only going to be open, the store's only going to be open for like a certain period of time. And the store could be, I guess, mostly it's done with online, but it could be even a retail store. You could do a launch. You could have nothing to do with the internet.
Right.
So the build-up, how would you actually break it down? What would be the anatomy of a launch? What are some of the ingredients that are involved in creating that sort of building up the anticipation, the desire in getting people to get to a point where on this one particular day they're going to buy whatever it is you're selling?
Well, first of all, I want to say, let's go there. Let's go in that direction. The one thing I want to get is sometimes people think it is just a one-day thing and you just make some sales and then that's the end of it. And it goes way beyond that, and there's the positioning, and you're going to ask me about all that stuff. So let's just say this is a fairly major event, a fairly major product that is really going to do something for your business. This isn't just like you knocked off something and you're going to make a few sales. You're really looking to change the way your business is performing, and you've got a big launch, and you might take like a 3-week period. And what I would do is actually so let's say your launch date is day 0, and your pre-launch starts, say, 21 days before that. It's 3 weeks. Well, even before that, I would start like a pre-launch process. And what I like to do is something I call the shot across the bow. And that's where it's basically where you're letting the market know that something's coming. And often I'll do it as part of a survey. So maybe if 21 days before your launch, you're going to start the pre-launch, maybe 2 weeks before that, 5 weeks out, you're just starting to get maybe your product's almost done. It's getting close to being done. Or maybe you're just, you're still 2 weeks out from having that thing done.
Right.
You might send out an email to your list, and it might be something like, let's use carving wooden dolls. Let's say your niche is you're teaching people how to carve wooden dolls.
Carve wooden dolls, okay.
Yeah, and because people have used this in every niche you could possibly imagine. And so, say, at that, maybe 5 weeks out, you'd send an email, and it would be like, and this is assuming you've got a list, and it could be even a small list, and it would be something along the lines of, as you know, I'm a lot like you, and we both have this real passion for carving dolls, and I have had some success. In fact, I've been actually making a living selling my dolls, and it's been wonderful. And I know there's a lot of people that are really interested in it. It might be more of a hobby for them, but they're really interested in possibly making money from carving dolls. And in fact, I often have people asking me how I do this, and how I've actually turned this passion into a business. And so, frankly, I do love carving dolls, but I'm not a writer. I'm not some, marketer or something. So But enough people have asked me about this, and I've decided I'm actually going to go ahead and create like a course on how to do this. But, like I said, I'm not some business person. So what I'd really like is if I could ask you, I'd like for your help, because I put together this course, but I want to make sure I can make it the best course possible and cover everything. So if you could, I've just got this just hit your reply button now and send an email back to me and tell me what's like the most important thing I need to cover about turning this passion into a business, carving wooden dolls. And so what you've done there is there's a lot of things going on there. First of all, you're connecting with them.
Right.
Second of all, you're asking for feedback. And when they give you that feedback, they're going to be giving you great feedback on what to include in it, but they're also going to be telling you what their objections to the product are. Like, if someone says, boy, and I have no idea anything at all about this. I just do know one of my owners has done a launch carving wooden dolls. And I don't even know if it was making money or just how to do it, but I'm just making I'm making all this stuff up. But let's just say someone wrote back and said, people love my dolls, and I thought it'd be really great to go into business and do that, but I don't want to travel to shows and have to sell them at shows. So if someone wrote that back to you, maybe 2 or 3 people wrote that back, that would be a number one objection, or maybe not number one, but one of the top objections.
Right.
So that means that in your selling process, you have to answer that objection, and hopefully in your product, you have to answer that objection. So this is before you even started that whole pre-launch. This is the pre-launch, and you're just creating interaction. People love interaction. They love being asked for their opinion.
Well, so let me get this right then. So in a lot of ways, you're being very Socratic. You're simply asking people questions. But you can, and I don't mean this in a negative way. It's like you can be very sloppy in the beginning of trying to even figure out what you're doing because you're just being so darn honest. You're just like going out to the marketplace and kind of like, hey, here's what I'm thinking about doing. Here's what I'm going to do. Can you tell me how to do it? And so your marketing does not need to be polished or perfect. You can be very open and very even, stumbling and not even quite sure. And you could do that strategically, but you also could do it just like, wow, I'm really not a marketer and I'm trying to figure this thing out. Help me out here. And that involvement and that feedback becomes the first initial ingredients that are needed in the future when you end up selling this.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, they don't connect with polish. They don't connect with.
And that doesn't mean Joe polish.
Yeah, right. They don't. There you go. I didn't even pick that up. That's your reticular activating system working there.
Exactly.
I'm getting
all defensive here now.
Yeah. I mean, they don't. They're not going to. This is the key thing: is online right now. Online? Well, in any type of business, people want relationships because they're starved for relationships, really. And we'll get to this, but you'll create a relationship going through this launch that's really, really powerful. And it may sound strange because you might have 50,000 people on your list or 20,000 or 2,000. How can you have a relationship with them? But you will.
Wow.
And they'll have a relationship with you, and you'll walk them through the process, and they'll get so involved with this. They're going to be excited to buy from you. They're going to feel connected to you. And people don't get connected to corporations, and they don't get connected to companies. They get connected to people. And they get connected to people that are regular people that have, faults and hopes and dreams. And so if you're just coming out and saying, hey, I need your help, it's really powerful. And I know one thing, Joe, like you're really tied into the mental trigger of reciprocity.
Right.
When you ask someone their opinion or their help, you're giving your attention to them.
Yes.
And that's one of the most valuable things you could possibly give to anyone.
Right.
You could make an argument it's the most valuable thing.
Yeah.
And so in asking them for their feedback and their opinion, you're giving attention. So you're right there. You're already starting to build reciprocity, and you're still 5 weeks out from the launch.
That's good. Now, first off, I want everyone that's listening to actually really kind of get what's going on here and just the power of this. Bonding is one of the most important ingredients needed in order to not only sell something to somebody, but also to sustain and maintain that relationship. Now, I'm going to come back to ask you what is more of the psychology of why this works. But let me ask you, why did you come up with this stuff? I mean, what sort of life event or what was going on in your business life that caused you to think this up?
Joe, my path to this business is almost as twisted as your path to yours. I literally, oh boy, I never sold a thing in my life. If you asked me to line up every profession on like a scale or horizontal line, and I would have put sales and marketing as like the least likely business I would ever be involved in. I never sold anything in my life.
You know, that's funny considering now some people consider you one of the sharpest marketers in the country.
It's silly. I mean, and so anyways, I started publishing. It's a long story, but because I was trying to get into grad school and I thought it would look good on my resume if like I had like 400 or 500 people subscribe to a newsletter that I was writing. And so I was literally, this is a resume builder. And at some point I realized I could put people on my list, and I could not only put people on a list, they were connecting to me. They were writing back and they were into what I was writing, and I had this connection. So I was like, well, maybe I should buy some or sell something to them. I had no money. I mean, I was like, we had like no money, like
right.
No money. Like I did a budget, $400. We have $400 of disposable income for the entire year when I did this.
You're kidding.
No, I mean, a couple of young kids.
And this is you and your wife.
Yeah, me and my wife, and so we just one child at that point. So very little money. And so I'm like, whoa, maybe I can make some money doing this. Or maybe I'll try to sell something to him. But then I'd never had sold anything. I didn't know how to sell. And plus I've been giving him all this free stuff. I've been giving him a free newsletter. And I was just scared.
And you started this newsletter to get a job.
Yeah. No, to get into school to get a job. Yeah, even worse than getting it. I mean, I was like 2 years from getting a job.
That is funny.
But I was scared to sell. I was scared to ask for the order, ask for money. And so I decided I went through this romance period. Like, you know, I mean, I guess it'd be like if you went to the bar, instead of like asking for the phone number, if you spent like 3 hours talking to him, maybe then you ask for I don't know. It's been a long time since I went to the bar.
You've been married for a long time.
Yeah. But I was literally scared to ask for money. So I went through this big romance period, and it turns out it worked. And in the online environment, you can afford to do that, right? Because in the offline, you couldn't send 20, well, maybe you could, but I don't think typically you would want to send 20 letters to someone before you ask for them.
Well, see, here's what's interesting. You know, me coming from a paper and ink background, because when I first started my marketing business in 1994, you know, people weren't doing online marketing. I mean, it didn't even exist. And I had to figure out how to live or die based on the words written on a piece of paper, paying for postage and sending it out and hoping that it would bring in equal to or more money than, you know, it cost to actually put those letters in the mail. Whereas in the online world, you can be very promiscuous because, you know, sending an email is free. When I would argue that it is free. I think if you're not leveraging and making money, it's maybe free to send, but the amount of money you bring in, it's really not. So you got into a situation where you did make sales. But can I ask you what's the fear of selling? Because I think a lot of people, even though they may not even admit it, they choke up. You know, like John Carlton calls it selling from your heels, where you're
right.
kind of, you know, as you're trying to make a sale, you're kind of also hunched back and you're on the, you know, back of your heels and you're kind of scared. What psychologically what's going on?
Well, I think back, you know, now I'm pretty comfortable with selling now.
Right.
But back then it was, I think it's fear of rejection.
Okay.
I think is the core. At least for me it was.
Right.
And yeah, just worried about that rejection.
Well, and now that's kind of a loaded question because you told me that already, and when we were talking yesterday, it was as fear. I don't even know if you remember that.
No, I don't.
But you know, the thing that is so cool about this type of marketing is you literally can put yourself out there, and you can get rejected by people not buying from you, but it's not like a face-to-face sort of rejection. Right. And that's the beauty of this type of marketing and this type of positioning is. You know, if you're afraid to sell or you're an introverted person, I mean, I would imagine you're probably an introvert.
Totally.
Yeah. But you figured out how to get tons of people to listen to you, tons of people to give you money and be happy about it and keep giving you more money. And I think that's a great thing. I mean, that's the leverage of marketing.
Right. One of the distinctions, I think it was Rich Sheffin really helped me make this one, is like, if you if you had to make a sale, if I had a gun to your head and you had to sell something like in the next 24 hours to a specific person,
right?
What method of sales would you choose? What's the single most effective way to sell someone something?
I mean, face-to-face.
I think it's face-to-face for everyone.
Yeah.
And why is that? Why is that selling face-to-face is more effective?
Well, because you got them right there. It's not easy for them to just get up and leave. Someone could throw a letter in the mail. Someone could hang up with you on the phone. But you've got about as close of a interaction that you can get to.
Yeah, so the interaction. So, like, if you're sitting there across from someone and you can see their eyes, like, start to, like, float away or, they sigh, then what do? You respond according to their responses. You pick up on it. Totally. So that's why it's the most effective, or that's one of the reasons, is because you can judge your presentation based on the reaction you're getting.
It's like dancing. If they move back, you can move to.
Totally. Okay. So now, if face-to-face is most effective, what's the weakness of face-to-face?
Well, you're limited by the clock. You can only talk to so many people in a given time. And this I got from Gary Halbert when I first learned marketing. No matter how good of a salesperson you are face-to-face, you can only talk to so many people in a day to present your pitch to. So it's not.
Totally.
Yeah.
So it's the most effective, but it's the least efficient. So with the product launch, we'll get into this. What you're doing is you create a conversation with the market. The market's feeding back to you because you get into this feedback loop, and they're talking back via email and via blog comments, via sometimes forum posts. So what all of a sudden you're doing is you might be marketing to 10,000 people on your list, but because of the mechanisms we're using, you're getting the feedback. It's not the kind of feedback you're getting on face-to-face, but you're getting a lot of feedback. So that, personally, I think that's one of the reasons it's the most effective selling mechanism there is right now, in my opinion, is because it combines the power of that face-to-face feedback with the one-to-many of direct marketing.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's a great way to explain it. So for people that have never seen a launch, participated in a launch, done a launch, what is the difference between putting a sales letter or video or whatever up on a website and pitching whatever it is you're selling or opt in here or whatever versus how you would position a product launch? It's really not using a website, it's using email. Can you do a product launch online without email?
You probably could. I'd have to think hard about how you would.
Okay, so the fact that you're sitting there thinking about it means that
you wouldn't want to.
Email is a mechanism. It's one of the tools.
Huge mechanism. So, let's take a look at it. I like to use this analogy of the sideways sales letter.
Okay.
And so, typically, say you just did sell. You loaded up a sales letter and you said, okay, it's available. Go buy this thing, which you just asked about. And so, you might have a 30-page sales letter. And what happens when someone gets that 30-page sales letter. You send them there, and that page loads up, and that little scroll bar over on the left side, they see that scroll bar get smaller and smaller and smaller, and they know this page, the huge thing's loading.
Huge sales letter.
Okay, so what do? When they get there, after that scroll bar that gets real tiny, they scroll down to the bottom, they look how much it costs, and 98% of them click away, and 1% of them scrolls back up and starts to skim down it, and for the most part they're not reading your sales letter.
Right. So now let me stop you for a minute and interrupt you. Now, are you opposed to long-form sales letters?
Not at all. I wouldn't. I love copy, and I use them, and they're part of the launch.
Now, you just said you love copy, and here's one thing I want to do, and this is more for people that still have this part of their brain that doesn't get marketing. Whereas me, the more you tell, the more you sell. I believe that, I've interviewed some of the top copywriters and marketers on the planet. I work with some of them. I see this all day long. I know the power of copy. And one of my favorite lines came from an interview years ago that I did with Ted Nicholas. And I asked him about a copy, and he said that copy is the oxygen that makes your marketing work. And I love that because it's true. And so I wanted to ask you, as a very skilled marketer, how powerful is copy? Then we'll come back to what I think.
Copy is everything. It's literally everything.
It is, okay.
In my opinion.
Gotcha.
But it doesn't necessarily have to be on a sales letter. I mean, everything we do is copy. Everything we do. And, we're in Eben Pagan, we're at Eben's event. Eben just said that we're in the world's first over-communicated society now.
Yeah.
And we're communicating with our prospects and our market in more ways than ever before. Everyone's online. Everyone's publishing online. Everyone's got blogs. Everyone's doing interviews. Everyone's doing teleseminars. Everyone's putting out video. Every bit of that is copy. Every single piece is copy.
Right.
And so, I mean, Twitter is copy. And so, getting back to that sideways sales letter, we take that 30-page sales letter, and people get this, but it's a little tough to explain. Take that vertical sales letter and turn it on its side, and instead of taking 30 pages to tell your story, take 30 days. That's your 3 or 4 week pre-launch. And so, what's the typical formula for a sales letter? You have a headline,
right?
Grab people's attention. And then from the headline, I like to go into you're capturing them right at the headline, offering something very intriguing, an intriguing solution to their problem. Then I'll typically tell a story. I love telling stories in my sales letter. And then you'll answer objections. And then maybe you'll have bullet points and you'll have benefits. And then you'll state your offer. You'll do your risk reversal. You'll state price. Okay? Now, say we take that and we turn it sideways, and the first piece of pre-launch content that you put out, maybe that's 3 weeks ahead of time, that's your headline. Typically, I just came out with Product Launch Formula 2.0. My headline was, I have tons of case studies that people have had great results. And I had one guy, John Gallagher, who literally was on food stamps and did a launch and created a 6-figure business, went from food stamps to 6 figures in a very short amount of time, selling a board game about edible and medicinal plants and herbs. So I put out a video, was my first piece of pre-launch content, and that video was 6 figures, or food stamps to 6 figures, and it told the story of John and how he, in this fairly obscure little niche, made a lot of money from a product launch starting from nothing.
Right. So
that was my headline, but that came out 3.5 weeks before people could even buy. That was just to capture their attention. And at that point, my call to action was opt in. Give me your name and email address, and then I'm going to train you in the next 3 or 4 weeks about product launches. So that was my headline. And then I went through, then I told the story. As I moved through my pre-launch, I went from the headline to telling them the really big idea that product launches can really build a business for you really quickly, no matter what your niche, whether you're a guru or not. And then I started to educate them. I told them that my story, the launch. And then I moved through. I started to answer objections as we moved horizontally through time, closer and closer to the launch. Was like taking them down the sales ladder.
Wow. Okay, so this is one big, giant education-based marketing model.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a conversation, and it's all about education, and especially in information marketing, it's incredibly powerful to be. It's like giving a sample. It's proof. It's social proof. It's building authority, showing them that you've got the goods that you. The thing you want going through their head is like, if they're giving me this much stuff for free, if Jeff or Joe or whoever is giving me this much stuff for free, I can't imagine what they would give me if I paid them.
Yeah, well, and here's the beauty of this too. I mean, one of the first irresistible offers that I ever came up with in my carpet cleaning business before I was ever selling how-to advice to marketers and people that don't know. I mean, I started off as a carpet cleaner, and I learned marketing because I needed to survive, never thinking I'd be a marketing guru expert, whatever. And one of the first things that I did was I created a free room of carpet cleaning, and I would go in and I would clean a room for free, and people would be like, man, if this guy's willing to do this and provide this quality service, I mean, first I instilled reciprocity. Secondly, I let them see exactly what I'm going to do for the rest of the area. They would hire me to do more. It was great. This is just like an internet version of a free room of carpet cleaning.
Totally.
It's the same sort of thing, and it works. You're giving people a sample. You're letting them try out, and you're putting the beauty of this is it also, not only are you being very transparent, but you're also putting your butt on the line. And if you're not able to deliver the goods, they're just simply not going to buy the stuff. So it in a lot of ways, you got to be able to perform.
Right. And that's that authority. It's another trigger. People love and respect authority. And yeah, if you can give this stuff away and show them good stuff, if you can do a good job. I mean, if you walked in, did the free room, and it sucked, and it was like, you burned a hole in their carpet or something, they're not going to get the business, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So exactly. I love it. So in the process, like when you said you're using the headline, what about how do you construct the subject line of the email? I mean, what would the first email look like?
Well,
if you're doing this online,
yeah,
I know you could do this through postcards, sales letters.
Yeah, I mean, this totally work offline. Like even if you're a little music store, and you could just do postcards and then drive people to an email list. And
okay,
then
I'll come back.
Yeah.
I'll come to
Okay.
that then. So let's just assume you're doing a product launch like you do, and you're going to use online.
Right. So first of all, there's internal launches which are just to your list, and there's external launches which are where you're soliciting JV partners.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's two different things. I mean, a JV partner, if they're going to mail for you, they're going to mail and send people to your pre-launch content, and then you're trying to put them on your list and follow up with them for the next, 2 or 3 weeks, and then do a launch. And if you sell those people, then you're going to pay the JV partner.
Gotcha.
So in that case, your JV partners are mailing to their list, and it's endorsed mailing. They've got a relationship with the list, but they're mailing about you, and it's almost like a cold offer. It's an endorsed offer, but they don't know who you are. So.
Well, let's define a JV partner. What is a JV partner? And then we'll come back to what would an email look like?
Yeah, so a JV partner is basically just someone else who's got a list, who's got, it's using other people's lists, other people's traffic, and they're going to send their list. They're going to send their list an email that tells them to go check out your stuff. So let's say I'm your JV partner, Joe.
Right.
I would send an email to my list that says, Joe's stuff is cool. Go check it out. They go to your stuff, and maybe there's a video there that they can look at, a short video with a promise of they'll get more cool video, training them on whatever if they join your list. And so I'm trying to put people on your list, and so a lot of times people are like, why would you possibly do that? It's because I know you're going to do this pre-launch, and you're going to track those leads, and down the road, you're going to probably sell a whole bunch of stuff to them, and then you're going to give me a commission.
Right, an affiliate commission.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's a joint venture. So a lot of times if you're doing a launch with partners, you're writing copy for those partners to mail. And in that case, it would be like that. The email that you would give me would be for me to send to my list, to send to you, and you're just giving me sample copy, and the sample copy would be, hey, the subject line would be, it could be something simple like, great training video, ...
Okay, so designing an email could just be something as simple as great training video.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and then is there any rules of thumb when you write subject lines?
Yeah, the one thing you should do is go look into your sent box and look at the emails that you've sent to your friends. And try to model those. And usually you probably don't capitalize too much stuff, and it's probably really short. It's not like, hey Fred, I just found a really great offer, and you should go check this thing out and watch this video because it's really cool. No, it's like, dude, cool video, check this out. Or,
right.
So it's generally pretty short. Most of the time not capitalized. Most of the personal emails I see going back and forth. So, that conversational, shorter's better, probably no caps. I'm not putting any, like if I send you an email, personal email, I don't put Joe, check this out.
Right.
I don't put any personalization when I send emails to my buddies. I don't know, maybe someone else does, but I don't tend to see any personal emails, real personal emails coming to me that have my name in the subject line. So I'm trying to mimic a conversational email to a friend. That's what I want it to look like.
Right.
I'm not trying to trick anyone, but I'm just trying to get them to not delete it before they even look at it.
Oh, it's great. It's great advice. Okay, so no, that's perfect. That totally answers the question. Look, there's the strategy. Look in your sent box of what you're sending to your friends and model those. Pretty common sense, but I think people over
marketing can be pretty common sense too.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. No. I mean, I think the question here is I mean, not the question, but I think the objective with being a good marketer is to not trip yourself up by trying to overanalyze it and figure it all out. A lot of times it's just, hey, talk like a real person. Say what people want to hear. Be compelling. Yeah,
I don't know about you. Every time I try to get fancy with anything, it blows up in my face. So
right. Right. Well, I love what you said about being polished doesn't work. And there's a quote that I've used in seminars, even when I was back using overheads. I had this overhead from Bob Hacker that said, "Neatness rejects involvement. Ugly works," and that was about how you write and how you make a sales letter. But there's a lot of truth to that.
The one quote probably one of the most impactful quotes I ever heard was from Jonathan Meisel, and he said, "If it looks like hell, it will sell."
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Jonathan Meisel. Man, I interviewed him, I think 12 years ago. Right in the heyday of him doing internet marketing stuff. So funny. Okay, well, so do you have to be a guru in order to do this? I mean, because a lot of people that are successful product launch people have a big name. People know who they are. They're famous.
No, you don't. You absolutely don't. I've got example after example. I told you about John Gallagher.
Food stamp guy.
Yeah, food stamps. Jane Savoy. She did a launch in the dressage market. You know what dressage is?
No.
It's horse ballet.
Really?
Literally, that's what they call it. Horse. It's like a person riding a horse in some fancy way, and the horse does tricks, and they literally call it horse ballet.
Wow.
Well, Jane, when I actually said she did this launch, 800 people on her list, $140,000 launch. Don't ask.
800 people, $140,000 launch.
I still don't know how she did that, but yeah. She knocked it out.
Well, that's going to make you feel good.
Oh yeah. So I said, Jane, we got to do a case study. She's like, okay. I said, okay, call into this number. I gave her, it was my number for my teleseminar bridge line because it had a recording on it. And so I had my assistant send her the information, which was like, she gives her a phone number and a PIN code, right? You know how teleseminars work.
Right.
Well, I get on there and Jane comes on. She's like, am I on? I don't know how to work this thing. I'm not sure how to do this. And I'm like, Jane, it's a telephone. She's like, well, I'm not very technically savvy. And
you're like, talk.
Yeah. And I mean, I love Jane. She's incredible. But you don't need to be a guru. You don't need anything fancy. In fact, the beauty is this is how you become a guru.
Yeah.
And you can even look in the internet marketing space. And I don't like to give examples because sometimes people think it only works for internet marketing. But if you look at, let's look at me, Frank Kern, John Reese, Eben Pagan, Jeff Johnson, all of us became known and built our names and became, so to speak, gurus because we did launches. We weren't gurus beforehand. We were gurus after the launch.
Right. So, and when I say guru, I mean, people listening, even if you're small in your little community, this is how you build basically credibility.
Positioning.
Even on the smallest scale. Well, let's talk about positioning. How would you define positioning as it relates to marketing?
Oh, I don't know if I've ever been asked that. I mean, positioning is, to me, is top of mind awareness where people know who you are, they know your business. Like for me with product launches, I'm definitely positioned as the dude. And so if people think about product launches, they think of my name. And so whatever market and niche you're in, it's like people see you as being a leader in that area. And I don't know if that's the best definition for positioning, but what positioning, I'll tell you what it does for you is it gives you pricing power because if you're positioned as one of the top people in whatever your niche is, you generally can get more money for whatever product you're selling.
Right.
It also makes you it tends to scare off competition, and you just make more money and sell more stuff. I think you just gave me what was it? You said, who said that? If you're not the top two people, I thought it was you just told me this yesterday. If you're not one of the top two people, get out of that. I thought it was Jack Welch. Someone else, maybe it was someone else. Jack Jack Welch said, if you're not one or two in the market, get out of the market.
Right.
Don't bother being there.
Right.
And so positioning is when you're one of the top two in the market. And it's a great place to be. And it's what a launch does for you, because all of a sudden everyone's talking about you. There's this buzz about you.
And you're not asking for people to like give you money right now. You're literally you're creating almost a cliffhanger
Totally.
every time you're communicating with them, building up that anticipation. I believe the emotion and the feeling that people have in the process of a launch is anticipation. And
Totally.
It's like a pressure cooker. And you keep building it, you keep building it, you keep building it, and by the time you pull the lid off, it's like whoosh.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, if it's an anticipation, it's an event. It's like, why is Christmas such a big deal? It's because they had dates on the calendar, and we know that thing's rolling around, and we know that like 3 months out from it, but especially in the last 3 weeks, we're going to see signs of it everywhere, and everyone's counting down, and we're all going through that together, this ritualistic countdown. And, the kids are looking forward to it. We're shopping. We can't, we're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to exchanging gifts. And why is it such a big deal? We're all moving it through this step by step together. And
Right.
a launch can be the same way, especially, if it's
even like Black Friday is in a lot of ways the retail version of a product launch.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
totally. Yeah, everyone knows it's coming. They've got their rituals around it. I have a sister-in-law. She's like, in line at 6 a.m, and she plans that day out with her friends, months in advance. And absolutely,
I didn't even realize this till now, just talking to you, that if you sit and think about buyers' behavior, the day after New Year's when there's sales, and Halloween and Easter and Thanksgiving and all of the holidays, and birthdays in a lot of ways are gift launches for people in their own personal life. And so in a lot of ways, this is sort of happening around us all the time. We've just never really quite broken it down, sort of like a scientist, sort of like you have.
Totally. And actually, one thing I can't believe I haven't mentioned is this stuff. This will also work for products that are already in the market to relaunch them. And it could be where you're coming out with a new version, or some enhancements. You put together a new offer by creating a bundle.
Right.
It can be very effective for that. But it also, especially in information marketing, it's all about perceived value. So you get right down to it, you're selling paper and ink. You're selling like a few bucks of paper and ink for a lot more than a few bucks.
Right.
So it's all perceived value. So one of the things that I started doing when I was selling a subscription service, and I started selling the same product day after day all year long. Well, I wanted to juice it every couple times a year, so I created sales. Where we discount it, or we extend the subscription, or we bundle stuff, but we basically are putting it on sale. But the problem with sales and information marketing is you're messing with your perceived value. I was selling something for a subscription, $100 a month, and I wanted people to think it was worth $100 a month. So if I sell it for $80, then I'm putting this thought in people's head that it's not $100 a month, it's $80. But when you did a launch, what I call like a relaunch, where I created a story for why I was going to discount it. My famous one that I teach in my course is a tax sale, and this is totally built 100% truth, where I had my taxes done one year, and the business did real well, and I got this big tax bill. I mean, I thought it was going to be a 4-figure tax bill, and it was a 5-figure tax bill. It was a substantial 5-figure tax bill, and I was like, and of course I did my taxes on April 14th, so it was like, oh my gosh, I got to cut a check tomorrow. So I said, I'm going to do a sale, and I put together the sale, discounted it. I said to my people, I'm like, this is the Jeff screwed up his taxes sale. You guys know I never discount this thing. We sell for $100 a month all year long, never discount this thing. But you know what? I just got this scary tax bill. It was like, I thought it was going to be 4 figures. It's 5 figures, and it's big 5 figures. I got to come up with some money. Now, I'm going to write my check. I'm going to mail my check tomorrow at 4:59 p.m. on the 15th. Now, I know the IRS can't get it until the 16th, and they can't possibly cash it until the 16th. So I'm going to discount it from now, when you get this email, until 5 p.m. on April 16th. You guys know I don't discount this thing. You've seen these promotions, and I never discount this thing, but this one time I'm going to cut it down to $80 a month. Bingo. That's a launch. It's a sale, but it's based around a reason. It was a true. I mean, I'm a big advocate of being true because you don't need to make stuff up. Our lives are crazy enough where there's all kinds of...
Oh, yeah, no, that's what's so funny about marketing. Yeah, I mean, you just, there's theatrical things going on all the time. You just need to think.
Right. So, I mean, that was a little mini launch based around an event and a story, a conversation, and it worked like gangbusters. And you could do that around all kinds of things. Weddings, graduations, birthdays. Just there's all kinds of events that are always happening, and you can do little mini launches around that.
Oh, that's great. That gives me you can see as I'm sitting here, interviewing you, I'm writing things down because this has given me so many ideas that you'd think I would have even thought about. But that's the beauty of just having conversations about this. It just opens up so many possibilities. So this stuff does not only work for internet marketers, obviously. Does someone need to, have any sort of great marketing expertise in order to be able to do this?
No. You have to. It's just easy. It's so easy. I mean, there's.
I would beg to differ. I think it's easy for you because you know it so well.
I guess, but it's basic stuff. It's having a conversation with your market. It's finding out what their objections are, answering those objections in that pre-launch process, giving them what they want, being honest, being truthful, hitting the mental triggers.
Right. Just like Joe Sugarman, he has his great triggers and everything, and it's in this the product launch kind of hits all of them.
Yeah, it does. It's just like this perfect storm. And another thing is it's this what I want to engender, and it's truthful. Almost what I want to engender is like, we're going through this process together. We're all in this together. So by the end of the launch, you're building so much momentum, and it's getting so exciting that it's almost like you created this tsunami, and you're all getting pulled along by it, and you're getting pulled right along with those people. So at the end, it almost gets conversational. Like the day before the launch, you might send them an email. It's like, okay, folks, as you know, we've been counting down. We're going live tomorrow, and I just wanted to, give you some final instructions. And so this is what's going to happen. Because things are getting a little crazy in my office. We're testing systems. I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to pull this off together. If we don't go live right at 12 noon, hang in there with me. But what I'm going to try to do is get this thing loaded as close to 12 noon, and I'm going to send you a link via email. Just click on that link. Now, I don't want any of you to feel any pressure at all because, we're probably not going to sell out in the first couple hours. I just take your time. Don't feel pressure. If you already made your decision, you want to buy, then just scroll right down to the bottom, and there's going to be an easy link for you to get all set up. If you're not ready, if you still need a little more information, go ahead and print out the letter. Just don't feel any pressure. And, we're going to get through this, folks. And so, you're assuming the sale at the end. But the voice I like to be in is like, we've been on this big journey together, and now we're just about there. So just let's take that final step, and we're all in this together. I'm going to try to get some sleep tonight. It's going to be okay, folks.
That's funny. That's great. Well, no, and I mean, you even told me when we were talking that this is it's all about relationships and conversation. Mm-hmm. Elaborate on that. What do you mean by that?
Well. I mentioned earlier, people want to... Okay, so this is the deal. Is like, right now, we got two different factors going on. We have the same brains we had, say, in 1990. But in 1990, most of us didn't have email. Most of us probably didn't have cell phones. We definitely didn't have Twitter. We didn't have TiVo. We didn't have advertising like on the airplane trays when you folded those things down.
Right.
The amount of information and advertising and marketing coming at us has grown, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50-fold in the last 20 years.
Right.
We can't process the stuff any better. So what that means that we're paying less attention to all that advertising. I mean, the people are more scattered and less focused and less available. Their attention's less available. So you got that one factor. You got this marketing fog you got to cut through if you want to get your message read.
Right.
Okay, so you got that one piece. Now another key piece, people are way busier because they got all all that information to deal with. And it's not just advertising, it's work. People are even people in corporate America are working, all the time. They have no off time. So people are busier than they've ever been. They're more bombarded than they've ever been. But I personally think that people are less connected with other people than they've ever been. People are, they get home from work, they hit the button, their garage door opens up, they pull into the garage door, they hit the button, the garage door closes. They're going through their whole entire day not connecting with anyone. Someone working at home, they might not actually have a physical conversation with someone all day long. They just might have a few emails. They're not connecting with people. So I think we have this combination of people that are way too busy, but fundamentally not connected with other people.
Right.
So if we can have them feel like they're connected through our emails and the conversational style, and through inviting them to go look at our content where we're very conversational, and asking them to comment on our blog and getting a discussion with each other on the blog, and then we're popping on that blog and responding to them, all of a sudden they're part of this community, part of this conversation. And they just went from, it's sad to say, but this might be one of the more significant relationships they've got going on, is talking to you and talking to the other people that are going through this launch. And all of a sudden, you've cut completely through that marketing fog. Now they're reading everything you're sending them. They're looking forward to what you're sending them.
Well, you even made a comment to me that if you do this right, your list will love you.
Right. Your list, you'll come out of this with the best and hottest list ever. And that's both, you'll come out with the happiest buyers ever. And the one thing you got to do is you got to deliver good product. I mean, this is the surest way to go out of business.
Oh yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, because the point is you can bring in an enormous amount of sales very quickly, but you could, if your product sucks, if you don't treat people well, you could, just as quickly your reputation could be ruined.
Right. So you got to have a killer product. But the thing is, you go through this, people are helping you design the product through all their feedback. So you don't have to worry about having.
Yeah, well, I mean, what a great way to actually give people exactly what it is they want, and simultaneously. I think you've innovated something here, Jeff, that's just really will change the face of the way that people sell things.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what's, and this will be an edit here, Richard. Its freaking battery looks like it's funny, because when we started, it like had half a battery, and this thing is literally, there's no bar in this battery. And I'm sitting there going, shit. I don't know if I should call him or just I'll watch it really carefully and we'll just keep going.
Maybe he's probably got AC for it somewhere.
Yeah, you'd think. Should I call him?
Yeah. Because otherwise it's going to
Let me hit pause. Hit record?
Yes.
And it's on. It's recording. Okay, this is track 2. Okay.
Hello, 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
You're rocking.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Richard.
Let me walk out the doors. So
okay. Okay, and the last thing.
And remember to get new keys when you're down there.
Yeah.
What was the last thing we said?
That I've created a brand new thing, and it's really cool.
Okay, cool. Let me ask you about list. How do you build a list?
Well, I mean, there's lots of different ways to build a list, and I think the answer is you want to be using lots of different ways. And but I'll tell you, because we don't really have time to go into a list building call here, but the cool thing about launching...
We're sitting here face to face.
Yeah, list building conversation.
And I'm going to leave that in, too. I'm not even going to edit this.
Okay. Make me look bad.
It's funny.
Yeah, this is different doing it face to face. It's much more enjoyable. This is the important part, is if you do a launch with joint venture partners, you can create a list from scratch and build a huge list fast. Because basically what your partners are doing is they're sending traffic to what we call a squeeze page, or to get funky, or reverse squeeze page, where you're delivering some amount of content, offering more content if they join. We talked about this a little earlier.
Right.
So say like you have a partner with a 5,000 person list and one with a 10,000 person list and one with a 2,000 person list, and they send all their traffic. You might end up with, overnight adding a few thousand people to your list.
So this is just a great way to do a list with JV partners. Well, let me do this then, because so much of your building of a list and a lot of people's building of a list is done through joint ventures. Let me ask you, you've already defined what a JV is, so what are some rules of thumb on how to actually do JVs with people?
Okay, that's a great question. I'm a big fan of that's a whole nother thing. You want a relationship with your partners, in my opinion.
Right.
And I'm much happier to have like 10 partners on board that I know them and we have a relationship than try to go out and sign up 200 partners or something like that. And here's another secret. I don't think we have time to go into this, but a secret is really, and you probably don't even, you've never been inside one of these. The real launch, if you're doing a launch with JV partners, this model is so powerful, the product launch model is so powerful that the selling of the stuff is not hard. I mean, selling your prospects stuff, that's the easy part. Getting your partners on board to promote for you is the tougher part. So your first launch is to your partners. You actually do a launch on your partners to get them excited to mail for you and get completely behind you.
Oh, that's funny.
It is, and people don't realize this unless they've been inside. I mean, I teach this now in my course,
right?
But that is especially like, and I don't want to talk too much about the internet marketing space, but that when there's so many launches going on that you have to cut through the clutter if you want to get someone to promote for you.
And so you do that by creating the same sort of psychological anticipation and getting them enrolled. This is an enrollment process.
It is. And you're using scarcity on them. You're using social proof. Your anticipation. You're creating excitement. And you're using that to get them on board. And it can be really, really powerful. That's what, I mean, I'm putting, like in my launch, I do a lot of launches, but my big one in this past spring where we did almost $4 million, I put probably more effort into that launch for my partners than into the launch for my prospects, because it's just the selling of those prospects.
Just to get them geared up. Well, I mean, how do you select partners?
Well, it sort of depends where you're at in the market. And, if you're just starting out, if you're looking for partners, I mean, in terms of, when I'm in the fortunate position where I can select partners and I'm actually turning some of them away. And I'm looking for partners that I perceive having a good relationship with their list, partners that have performed well in the past, partners that aren't going to be a pain in the neck to deal with. And a lot of this is through reputation and through knowing your market.
Yeah, so I mean, from a philosophical standpoint, me having this all being a new thing to me, at least product launch, I've been doing marketing for the longest time. I have people constantly that want me to promote stuff to my list, and what I believe is that my list is my most valuable asset. It's not just a list of names. I mean, these are real human beings that have lives, and I don't want them investing money in stuff that doesn't work. And we are, our philosophy at Piranha Marketing is that money earned ethically is a byproduct of value creation. We always want to give our clients things that really help them, and that's why they keep doing business with us over and over again. And so when people come to me and, the first thing they say is, oh yeah, pitch this to your list because you'll make a lot of money. I mean, it almost makes me want to run away. Right. Because it's like if your main motive is just that my list and my clients are a target for me just to sell something of yours, too, it's ridiculous. So I always want to see, first off, what it is. I want to know the person. I want to know if they have a good reputation. And I mean, so I'm really doing this for people that are listening. If you want people to sell your stuff, I mean, first off, develop a relationship with them. Secondly, understand who their clients are and where your stuff fits in. And one of my filters for people that want to do joint ventures with me and go really deep with my list is they need to join one of my coaching programs. I mean, simply if they want me to sell their dog food, they should eat my dog food and they should like it. And I mean, I think the same thing goes even with my carpet cleaners. They go and do joint ventures with dry cleaners of clothing. I'm like, go there and drop off your dry cleaning, spend money with them, get to know the people. I mean, it's not just about money. I mean, that's just a byproduct of doing things right. It's about the relationship. And what I've observed in all of, when I say you guys, we're talking like literally just a handful of people. You all got really strong relationships with each other. And so you know each other, you know what each other does, and you work together. And I think that is just something that has to be done.
Totally. Completely agree. I mean, I've watched you at this event. We've been here for 3 days now, and you're just always meeting people, talking to people, very approachable.
Right.
When I go to an event, I am an introvert, and so it's not easy for me, but I get outside myself and I go and try to meet people. And so I'm going to an event to meet people. Generally, one of my goals at an event is to make one key relationship. I'm not looking to make 100 friends. I'm looking for that one key relationship. And I don't know, this has worked for me. I'm not saying this is the greatest advice, but when I look for that one key relationship, I'm looking for someone I connect to, not someone like who can sell the most stuff for me.
Right.
I'm looking for someone that I can connect to, that we have a bond. We can be friends.
Right.
I'm looking to make a friend.
Yeah.
And it's weird, but that's ended up being unbelievably good for business, you know? And because it just turns out my friends, they end up promoting for me, or they have friends that I get introduced to, and so I go to live events are great for finding partners, because you want someone that it is a partnership. It's not just an affiliate deal. You're not merging businesses legally, but it's almost like you're merging minds and you're merging lists. It's just all my philosophy. You go and make friends, and let the business follow from there. And
I really think this is probably the key to your success with your clients and with your partners is people like you. I mean, I honestly don't think of ever doing business with people I don't like. And if I get a bad vibe from someone, even if they are smart, I don't do business with them. I don't want to. I mean, my whole philosophy of easy, lucrative, and fun, having an elf business versus a half business, hard, annoying, lame, and frustrating, which is what a half business is, I only want to do business with people I like. And they have to be a friend of mine if they're going to be a partner, JV partner. I mean, I simply will not. There's too much money out there, and there's too many good people out there to just approach someone and say, hey, can we make a lot of money? And I avoid people whose motive is they're trying to get something from me. I mean, if they don't approach me first with some real value creation, I mean, we're never even going to get to the point where we're actually going to do any real business together. I mean, we might have an interesting conversation about stuff, but yeah, and I think with you first, I mean, even what you said, you were afraid of getting rejected. I mean, that's usually a sign of someone that just doesn't want to be offended, and they don't want to offend somebody. So, I mean, you're just a nice guy. And so now you've developed this way of being chummy and having a relationship that's now turned into one of the most successful methods of selling that has been innovated in the internet marketing world.
It's crazy. And one thing I wanted to say, Joe, is like it's easy for me to say I'm only going to do business with my friends, and it's easy for you to say that because frankly we've gotten to these fairly successful positions. We've got nice businesses.
Right.
And so if someone's, sitting, in their car listening to this, and maybe they're just starting out and they're like, well, they can say that because they've got that, what's the saying? I forget. Basically it's easy to be charitable when you've got, millions sitting around you.
Yes.
So, but the reality is even when I was starting out, a lot of times when you're real hungry, you might take a deal and you're like, you're just not sure about this one, or you're signing, salesmen know this. If you're out there trying to sell something and this deal feels a little odd, maybe this guy's not going to pass, but I really need to make, quota. I need this commission. You got that funny feeling that those deals, they never work out.
Right.
Ever. That 6 cents you got, it just doesn't work. So even if you're just starting out and you're like, boy, this guy said he's got this huge list, and boy, if he just promotes for me, I'll be on Easy Street. He sort of creeps me out a little bit, but I'm just gonna go for it. That deal's not gonna work out.
No, and your intuition is there for a reason. There's a reason they have a gut. You have a gut feeling. I mean, it's nature's way of telling you something. And don't lay down with dogs. The whole saying, don't lay down with dogs. You wake up with fleas. Don't pitch something to your list that's not going to help them. I mean, I don't have a week go by where I don't have 20 people trying to get me to sell something to my list, and I very rarely do. In my 14 years of business, I had recently a joint venture go bad in terms of the deliverability of the people. I mean, something we'd put a lot of time and effort into, and so, I mean, I went through great pains of doing everything I could to not only apologizing to our list about sorry for the screw-ups and stuff, but really, making great strides to just, offer, alternatives. and things. But that is very rare. And I mean, things happen in business, but a lot of it is my clients that have been with me for over a decade. It's because we've always treated them well. Mm-hmm. And even when things have screwed up, I mean, we're very open about it. I mean, Dan Sullivan, my good friend, strategic coach, says all progress starts by telling the truth. I mean, I remember one time where they had a software they had put together. They had spent over $1 million in the software. They had their clients using it and everything, and it just simply wasn't up to par. And just, Dan wrote a really sincere letter to his list saying, we really tried. We were doing this because we were trying to offer a value to all of you, and it just hasn't worked out up to our standards, and we're going to quit servicing it. But you're still able to continue to use it if you want. We're sorry. And that actually ingratiated their clients to him that much further. So, but the point is just treat people really well. And if something goes bad, apologize and turn lemons into lemonade. But one of the ways to avoid having things go bad is never, do business with someone that you have any weird sort of feeling about.
Totally.
It's just a good philosophy. So now, in the process of doing these launches, Jeff, you actually mentioned when we were talking yesterday that you sell without really even revealing you're selling. I mean, it doesn't come across like you're selling. Explain that.
Well, the way the launch works is generally you start off, you're in that shot across the bow. You're just selling, I got something coming, but it's not I got something coming I want to sell you. It's I got something coming. I need your help to make it perfect.
Right.
And then as you get into you advance a couple weeks or a week and you're into your pre-launch, it's like, hey, I got this really cool thing I've learned, and go check this out. And you send them, it could be a PDF report, it could be a video, it could be an audio, it could be a teleseminar, and you're just sharing cool stuff with them. And inherent in that cool stuff, that's your headline, right? But it's not overtly hitting them over the head with a sale. And then you'll follow it up. The message, I got this great stuff I want to share with you. And then maybe another message down the road, it's like, I got this great stuff. I got more great stuff I'm going to share with you. I'm eventually going to have a product I'm going to release on this, but first I want to make sure you really get on board with, you get all this information. There'll be plenty of time to talk about that thing I'm coming out with later. First I want to share this with you. And so it'll dawn on them that they're going to get sold. Now, I'm in a position like if I do a launch, everyone knows what's coming, right?
Right.
So I'll have to say something like, hey, I'm giving you this really cool stuff. I'm putting together a product. Frankly, I hope you buy this thing from me down the road. But before we do that, I got to prove to you that I've got really great stuff. And, so take a look at this. In fact, I want this stuff to be so good that I've got tons of success stories before I even start selling stuff. So, there's various levels, but you're gradually revealing that something's coming. It's like a novel, okay? A novel or a movie, okay? So in a novel, 220-page novel, you start off, in English class in 9th grade, we sort of diagrammed this where, we put it we drew a chart, and there was there might be on the horizontal axis, there was a timeline, the vertical axis was like the measure of tension. And the tension gradually increased as you went through the novel, just crept up, moved up, and then you get page 219, and all of a sudden, then the tension is resolved, and then it falls off that last page. It's just everyone lives happily ever after. Well, you want that moment to be when they get to that sales letter, and we do end up with a sales letter at the end, just in case someone still needs that sales letter to buy. Generally, by that point, they get to it, and they're going to scroll down to the bottom and just can't wait to get their credit card information in.
Right.
We see this over and over. Like, you'll have a 50-page sales letter, and in your first minute you go live, you might have 75 sales. It's like, I don't care how fast you can read. The people aren't reading. They're just scrolling down to the bottom. They're using automatic software to plug in their credit card because they can't get it in fast enough. But in general, you're gradually building the tension, and now you're starting to reveal something's coming. And usually in the last 4 or 5 days before the launch, then you move to talking about your offer.
Okay, so now coming up to the point where you actually do sell them. This would be a slight distinction. How do you sell in a way that people want to be sold? You kind of covered that. But now we're coming to talking about selling. This in the beginning was something that you were this. I guess I'll answer it again. Hold on. Okay, so now we're dealing with selling. The best part. This is where the money comes in. So what are some rules of thumb about selling?
If you do this right, and it is a cookie cutter process, really, you do it right. When it's almost like you're letting them buy. It's not like you mentioned earlier selling from your heels. This is like it's the ultimate power sell. I mean, I'm a nice guy and everyone likes me, but when it comes right down to it. I'm in this to sell. And I mean, you go for the jugular at the end, but it's not like you're hype, buy. It's you almost always a takeaway sale. And it's like you're letting them buy. It's like, you don't even have to pitch. It's you've taken them through this. You've given that headline. They know why they want it. They're anticipating. They can't wait to buy. And at the end, it's like, yeah, we're going to open up the doors and we're going to let you in. I know it sounds weird, but it's really like that. It's at the end, and you do have a big long sales letter, but it's more like, folks, we're going to let you buy, and you got to buy tomorrow, and you got to buy tomorrow at 10 o'clock, or else you might not get in. And I'm usually doing that, kinder, gentler, because I like to have that the carrot and the stick, but the stick is usually. I don't like to come right over the head, but beat them over the head. It's more like, I'm assuming you want this, and I'm going to send you the link, and you can go buy tomorrow. So I sort of spoke some copy earlier in the call, but don't feel too pressured. But underneath it, you're putting all kinds of pressure on them. Right. And it's like, yeah, you can go buy now, and I'm just going to get out of your way, and I'm going to watch you guys stampede in, and hopefully I don't have to pull this offer down right away, within the first 5 minutes. I'm hoping. I did this with my launch. I'm like,
what are you telling me? Like, I mean, what's the most that you've actually made in like a second or something?
I had a $10,000 second.
$10,000 second.
Yeah.
You track that, of course, because of the online sales.
Right. That was sort of crazy. Yeah. And that was $1 million hour, and it was insane. Yeah. Just insane.
That's incredible. Well, there you go. So now, first off, you've talked about some great stuff, and we'll wrap up here in a moment. Any mistakes that people should avoid?
Well, the biggest mistake is not following the model, because and the model's really resilient because there's so much going on, and there are a lot of little discrete steps that you have to follow, but each step is simple, but you can screw up. It's so resilient there because it's not like you're counting on that sales letter and getting that headline perfect. That like if you mess up your headline, you're sunk. It's like you're walking through this process, and there's so many different ways of interacting and overcoming objections and setting hooks that you can screw up 50% of it and you'll still be fine. Yeah. So the thing is just follow the model and don't get intimidated, and just step by step right through it. And then a lot of times people pull the punches right at the end. It's those last few days, you're generally sending an email every single day, and they're like, oh, my list, they're not going to love me. They're going to get mad at me. And, you might get an email or two from people that say, I'm sick of this. Stop sending me email. Well, so what? Those people aren't your prospects.
Yeah, they're not going to buy anyway because they're not, yeah.
So, usually, and then a lot of times one of the key things is you don't have to pull the product off the market. But if people don't act, something bad has to happen at the end of the launch. And the launch could be 1 day or 1 week. I suggest not going beyond 1 week. It could be 3 or 4 days. But at that end of the launch, if they don't act, something bad happens. The product goes off the market, bonuses go away, price goes up. Something bad happens, so you're incenting them. And you can't pull a punch at the end. You're coming down, it's 24 hours. This is your 24-hour notice. You got to jump on board now, or else you're going to miss out.
And I think if you don't follow that rule of thumb, then you're basically you're a liar. You're making stuff. You're creating an artificial date that you're not going to honor. And I absolutely, make sure that there is a punishment. Make sure that they. I love. you pull your product off the market. You literally don't let them.
Right, and what you're doing there is you're growing capital for your next launch. You train this is the beauty is once you start doing these is you train your list to jump when you say jump.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's list control. That's my favorite term, is list control.
List control, that's great.
You're controlling your list, and you're controlling, you're creating authority, and they're going to act. So there's this whole stacking. I mean, we're talking about one launch, but you can build a business around this, and every launch gets bigger and bigger and bigger because you grow this relationship capital, you grow this authority capital. People know that you're serious, and every launch gets bigger and easier.
Yeah, that's great. Now, I want to make it really crystal clear here that this, although we've talked a lot about information marketers because that's the world that we're in, this works well for seminars.
So yeah, all kinds of things, including seminars, are beautiful because they're events. You don't have to work to make them into events, and you have built-in scarcity, right? Because the event's going to happen. So I mean, it's this deadline. It's like a wedding. Like, it's going to happen. You don't have to worry about building in scarcity. And so it works fantastic in fact, one of the first launch that John Reese ever did, the one I helped him with was for a workshop. And, he had a list of 3,000 people and sold about over $400,000 of seats to those 3,000 people with a few emails. No marketing costs whatsoever. It's just perfect for workshops, and it's perfect for the follow-up after a workshop.
Well, some people will be able to see it in action because we're going to be helping Boardroom Inc. put on their first ever event. This is a company that publishes Bottom Line Personal, one of the top direct marketing companies in the world. And I'm helping them put together an event and engaging you in this process. And, they're basically, for the first time ever, going to teach, they've done over $100 million a year for, 20 years plus. A very, very successful company filled with some of the sharpest people on the planet. And they've never taught what it is they do and how they do it to other people that want to learn how to do really high-level direct marketing, from everything from list selection to fulfillment to how to pay copywriters to how to have copy created. They do infomercials. I mean, they publish newsletters, and they're one of the top information marketers and publishers on the planet. And so after a brainstorm session and lots of discussions, they've decided, we'll put together an event for a group of people, and it's not going to be cheap. But it's going to be a very, very high level, and this has never been done before. Something like a company of that level teaching what they do and how they do it, and that's going to be built through a launch. So if people actually want to watch this whole process in action, stay tuned because you'll see it. You'll see how it actually works.
Yeah, I mean it's a dream product. I mean, starting with you can't have a better place to start than having just a dream product like that. It's going to be an extraordinary seminar. And so it's just going to be a natural.
And it will be limited because the whole thing here is that will sell out. It will be a seminar that sells out, and there will be some of the sharpest people on the planet. But again, the whole marketing methodology is a launch. Now, another thing I want to also make clear too, because I've clients that are carpet and upholstery cleaners. They can use this to actually fill up their schedule in one fell swoop. Another thing that I do want to mention is, say, charities or fundraisers. Can you do launches to raise money for a cause?
Absolutely. Now, I haven't personally done that myself, and I always try to speak from experience and not make stuff up. I mean, we're always tempted to make stuff up, right? But I really try to impose a discipline on myself. So I personally haven't done one, but my clients have. In fact, John Gallagher, the guy who did the food stamps to Six Figures bid, he just did a launch, and I think his numbers were $50,000 for a relatively small nonprofit.
Wow.
And that's something I intend to really work on, building out that methodology. Even talking to John, talking with some other people, and really adapting it. So it's applicable. I just don't have the personal experience to speak from. So it's one of my missions, probably in the next year, is to develop that.
Well, you can rest assured that I will ask for your assistance and help with all the stuff that I'm doing with Richard Branson's charity Virgin Unite, because I'm helping them raise lots of money. We've already raised over $500,000 for them, and I love that charity because Richard pays for all the administrative costs, and all the money literally goes right to the front lines, to everything from homelessness, homeless teenagers in America, to teaching entrepreneurism in Africa, to all kinds of medical procedures and help that they're doing all over the world. I mean, from environmental stuff, they do a lot of great stuff. So I'm going to really take your launch formula and adapt it into the stuff that I'm doing with Virgin Unite. And of course, I'll ask for your assistance there. And so I think what you've created here not only is going to help our listeners and lots of entrepreneurs make a ton of money, but I really think that it's going to make huge impacts in the nonprofit worlds, into charities, and to all kinds of good causes. So, Jeff, last thing I'll ask you is if someone wants to go deep with this and learn the whole process over and above what we've spoken here, and I mean, you've shared some really awesome stuff, how the hell did they get on your list? I mean, how do they get your product? I guess if you're not releasing it right now, they have to be part of a launch. So,
right. Yeah.
How do people get your stuff?
My website's productlaunchformula.com. The product's not available as we record this. I don't know the future. I don't know when I'll release it again. People can be rest assured if they go there and they'll a few things. First, I'll encourage them to join my list. If you join my list, you'll get all kinds of great free training. I mean, just hours of free training on how to do this. So you can rest assured I'll ask for your email address, and you can rest assured I'll give you some great free information, and you can also rest assured that sooner or later I'll try to sell you something, and it will, eventually the course is off the market now, but I'll come out with a new version, and it'll be updated and adapted, and at that point, if people want to buy it, they can. But in the meantime, you'll get all kinds of great stuff. That,
awesome.
Very specific training stuff.
Well, no, you will, and everyone that I've ever met that has worked with you, they all love you. They all think you're great. I mean, you're genuinely just a nice guy, and I think everyone, if you get an opportunity to get Jeff's stuff, buy it, use it, make money with it. I mean, even what we've talked about here should give you enough to finance any amount of money they would ever give for continuing education on this. So, any other famous last words?
Oh boy, famous last words. All I can say is I feel blessed every day. I love this business. I'm in the business. I consider my business. I'm making entrepreneurs, and I've been able. It's just been a blessing to be able to help. I mean, I make a ton of money. I make more money than I could ever imagine. And I know you do pretty well, but I mean, what really juices me, and I know what juices you, is making an impact. I know that sounds corny, but I've made an impact on a lot of people, and I just feel so blessed, and that's why I like to take this stuff to the world.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And by me, interviewing you and pulling out, the genius that you've created here and sharing it with these other people, hopefully they will take action on what it is we're talking about, and they'll go out and sell more good stuff, and they'll just, it's going out and just doing what marketing is all about. It's your ability to leverage and sell good stuff. And all money earned ethically is a byproduct of value creation. And the beauty of this formula is it's not going to work if you don't have good stuff. If you're going to go out and give people stuff for free. So if you try to do a launch and you find no one buying your stuff, either you don't have really good stuff or you're simply not using the formula that we've discussed here, because we know the formula works. So thank you for sharing your words of wisdom. And I would encourage all of my listeners, if by the time I release this interview, if there's any particular product launch that we want you to pay attention to, we'll tag it to the end of this interview. Get yourself on the list, check it out, and you'll see how all of this stuff works, and then use it to make money. And we will talk with you next time. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. It was fun.